Kind of weird. Yeah, welcome to the session HTMX and ASP.NET Razor Pages. Before I'm going to get started, I'm just going to quickly introduce myself to get things going and so on. So my name is Kevin DeRudder. There's no spelling mistake in my last name. It's just one word with two capital letters. And the weird part is that my father's last name are two words. So something in between there went wrong. But it's on my passport, so I have to believe it. Now, what do? I basically do two things. First of all, I am co-organizer of a conference like this in Belgium and the Netherlands called Tekorama. But next to this, I'm also a full-stack web developer, a full-stack ASP.NET web developer. Did some PHP and Java in the past, but I moved into the .NET stack. And what makes that I'm a full-stack web developer? I love CSS. There are not a lot of people that love to write CSS, but I do like it, and I'm also a JavaScript fan. Now, I gave this session at NDC as well, and NDC always makes videos out of the sessions, and I made a mistake at looking at the comments. And one of the comments was, there's the first one, this is what happens when a backend engineer tries to do frontend. And didn't sleep for days because I really felt like a full stack developer. So I asked a few sites about it, and the first one gave me a conference that says, yes, you're still a full stack developer. And another one, yeah, while I was awake at night, I asked ChatGPT as well, hey, I know JavaScript, I love HTML, I also can write CSS, am I a full stack developer? And he gives me a list. Yes, Kevin, you build interfaces with HTML and CSS. And yes, Kevin, you add some interactivity into the browser with JavaScript. And he asked me other questions. You do know HTTP, and I had all the checks. And I wanted to focus on that part here, is that I'm using JavaScript to add interactivity into browsers, into web apps. Now, when I looked back at then, and the reason why JavaScript was invented in the 90s was web pages are static. You have HTML that gives you content, or you should use HTML for the content. You have CSS for transitions and making things beautiful, or not that beautiful. You do some form validation and so on, and we all do this with JavaScript. But in the 2000s, people started to use XML HTTP requests, the AJAX request, and they are using JavaScript for everything. You have people that making animations in JavaScript. I'm not that type of guy. I create CRUD applications. So I use JavaScript to get the JSON from the server, then did some things with it, and then I could show it on a page. Now, one of the reasons why that guy or girl, I actually didn't check his name. Those are rumors that I checked his Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. I didn't do that. Probably he said, you're not using Angular or React. But I did. And at the end of the day, I don't like Angular, and I don't like React, and I don't like Vue, and so on. The reason for this is because it adds, for me personally, it could be something else for you, it adds a lot of extra complexity to my web application. The only thing that I wanted to do was render HTML in a beautiful way on a page. And for me, the most interesting part of this was, okay, we're getting JSON, and then Angular and all these libraries and frameworks are doing a bunch of stuff, and you have to install NPM packages. If there's one time in my life that I want to throw out my computer out of the window, it was installing NPM packages, or with Yarn, and then you had Webpack, and then you had Vite, and I was getting crazy of it. So why do I use HTMX? Well, basically to take that step back again. Why that step before the XML, HTTP request, and so on that I had to write? Well, basically, I want to render my HTML on the server. And I know in Angular and React, you also render your HTML, but on the client side. I want to do this on the server, send that HTML, ready to use, and then use that basic set of JavaScript to make sure that I have the interactivity inside my web pages. Now, and this is what this session is all about. So basically, the idea is, how can I focus on writing the content and don't lose myself in that forest of Angular and React libraries and frameworks? Now, HTMX is not new. It has been there since 2020, created by Carson Cross. And there are a lot of articles, a little bit explaining the same stuff as what I did. he also wanted to get away from these frameworks. And basically, it is a JavaScript library that you have to download, and it does some magic for you. But the most important part for me is it's HTMX. And the idea is you're going to extend your HTML with attributes, and those attributes will do the magic for you behind the scenes. That is the idea. So quickly, this is doing a fetch in JavaScript. And basically what it does, when you click on a button, it goes to the server gets JSON back, and it puts it in the HTML. So click, go to the server, and put it in the HTML. To show you, and I don't have a lot of slides, I'm going to do a lot of demos here. To show you how it is in HTMX, well, basically this is it. At the bottom, you have your JavaScript, and at the top, you have your HTMX. So the idea is the same. You need to click on something, and a lot of these elements, like a button and the radio buttons, the form elements, they have their default trigger behavior, and most of the time it's a click. For a div, could be something else. The default there is a mouse over, because by default you don't really always click on these divs, but you can change that. By specifying in the trigger, mouse over, click, you can load something while your DOM tree is rendered, and so on. Then you're going to specify what you want to do. So you can do your get, put, post, delete there, and you say, okay, I want to go to the server, and you give me some HTML or JSON. Now, I want to stay close to the HTML, but it will also show you that you can work with a JSON. Then at the end, you need to get the element where you want to put your content in with the AJAX target, and then you're going to do something. You can swap, you can insert it in somewhere in the div, but those are the things that I'm going to show you later. That's it. That was the session. Basically, it's not, no, it's not true. Basically, it's not more than that. HTMX for me makes it simple to create CRUD applications. So a little bit bigger, but I will type this for you in a few moments. Now, maybe if we put this in a schema, what you have your ASP.NET application with the elements, you click on it, you do a get to ASP.NET, you render your HTML over there, and this is the part that you would normally do in Angular or in React. You give it back, and then you swap an element with the data in there. Maybe some of you, the first time that I saw it, it reminded me of the update panel a long time ago in the ASP.NET, if you used that. What did you do in the update panel? You put everything inside a ASP update panel in the content template, and everything in here is transferred to the server also by the same XML HTTP request. That's it for slides. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to divide this into two parts. I'm going to, first of all, at the end, I already made an application because it's a lot of typing there as well. But before we get there, I'm going to show you the individual parts of HTMX just by typing it inside my Visual Studio Code. Now, the idea of the application is, well, it says my daughter is turning 16, but the idea is when I talk to a lot of people, I have some weird thing in me. I always want to tell people which music I want to play at my funeral. And some people do that, I don't know why, but I love to do that. Oh, this is a song that should play on my funeral. So I started making an online list so I can send this to the person who is going to arrange my funeral, and this is the playlist that you need to do. Now, my daughter is not going to die 2022 of February, but she's turning 16. I thought, okay, I could use a playlist for that as well. So the idea is that she can already make a playlist, connect to Spotify, and play some songs over there. Normally it should work. The guy at the back spent 10 minutes working on my music. The only thing that I'm going to do is this. So it works. Now you can turn off the music. I don't need it anymore. So that is the idea. So what we will do is we're going to add songs, and this is all going to be done via HTMX. Now the important thing to note is you will still need to write some JavaScript. HTMX just gets the data, shows it on your page, but if you want to do some extra validation, sometimes you will need to write some extra JavaScript as well. So let's go to the other page. This one here. This is my playground where I'm going to type some HTMX and then show you how that works. So basically at the top here, what do I have? I'm just going to make sure I'm not the best typer, especially if I have to stand like this. So bear with me. Here is primary, click. Okay, then the button is there at the bottom. So what do I need to do? I already made a simple controller, an API that gives me the time. So if I, for example, would pick this one here, click there, up, and change that into API, HTMX. Now, I wanted to start with JSON to show you the possibilities there as well. But the end, it's of course the goal to change that into HTML. Now, what are the first things that we can do? I'm going to open that one here. Is what you see at the top, there is a menu. And that menu, what it does right now, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be mistaken, yeah, I was preparing the demo and it's already fixed. Basically, what it does, it's a sort of single page application. It loads the content from the server, and in this case, these are Razor pages. It already loads them and displays them on the same page. Now, when I go to, nope, yeah, it's still here, big. The only thing that I needed to do there, this is very big. If I make it a little bit smaller, is it still readable? Okay, that's already a little bit better. Where are you in the shared folder? Inline demo. So the first thing that I wanted to show you with HTMX is the AJAX boost. And what is AJAX boost? Well, it's going to look at the children of this container. So here in the navbar start, it will look at the children, and everywhere where he sees an anchor, a link, it will intercept that call, and instead of doing a full page postback, he will just get that page, and in this place, it's a little bit below the header, it's going to display it here in the render body. That's the only thing that I needed to do, adding this attribute. Now, of course, I have some other links, and if he sees, yeah, you're going to go to a new page, then of course, I will not use the HX boost. I will go to these pages. You can say HX boost is false there as well, and then it will also not render it as a single page application. So this is already an example of how we are extending the HTML code with an attribute, HX boost, and the magic is done behind the scenes for you. This was not the interesting part. The interesting part for me is how can I have buttons, divs, and make sure that I have the same functionality. So what I'm going to do is, I'm first of all going to say, okay, when somebody clicks on you, I want to do a get. Again, we will see a post and a delete later in the demo, but I want to get something, and what do I want to get? Well, in the API, I know that you have a controller with HTMX, and if I'm going to render that, click, it already got the data from, I showed you the API with the time. That's it. Behind the scenes, a lot of things are going on. But for me, this is simple. HX get, I can stay with my HTML and see the HTML as a sort of contract that I need to follow with the XML namespaces and so on. And I can then do some other stuff. For example, now the default, as I said, the default is trigger is click. This will not change a lot of things. It's exactly the same code, but if I want, I can, for example, say, okay, yeah, click, but only when you press the shift key as well. So now when I click on it, nothing is going to happen. Of course, you don't see it, but when I press the shift button and then click on the button, then it gets the time. Now this is the example with a button. I can, for example, do exactly the same with a div HX get is API/HTMX. And the trigger here in this case is, for example, when this div is loaded. The div is below the button. So you see from the moment that the div got rendered, it already talked to the server, got the JSON, and the default behavior is here. He didn't put it in the result, but because I'm not specifying a target, it will put it in yeah, the element that triggered the event. If I want to change that a little bit, and I'm going to remove the shift key because otherwise I will forget to press the shift key. I'm going to say if AJAX target is, and I want to get it inside that result div. Now what you can do here, and it's a little bit the same as what you have with document.query selector. The difference with get element by ID is you can only have that element by using the ID. With the query selector, you can use CSS selectors to find your element on the page. So in this case, we see that the div has an ID. So if I want to target that one, I need to start with the sharp side. How do you call that sign? With a hash. A hash. Result. Like that. Click. And when I click on it, it's in the div below. So this is, again, attributes adding. There are not a lot of attributes there that you can use. But for example, load, click, there's a variety. So load, when I click on the div, it still works. If I say, OK, you need to update every 2 seconds, every 2 seconds, then after 2 seconds, it should come up. And then after it will always do a polling to the server, give me new data, and so on. Of course, when you are working with a form, you will have input fields, input type text. Class is, this is an input. Let me first close it. And there's my input field here. Well, I can do the same there as well. I'm going to do this. Get rid of this, otherwise it keeps updating. Now, what with an input field, what you would do is, typically, for example, if you want to do an autocomplete, from the moment that people start typing, then you can show some data. So what I will do is the AJAX get is the same, API/HTMX, and then the AJAX trigger. What will happen is when I do key up, and I'm going to wait for 500 milliseconds, and I only want to, I only want to call this API when the value of the text box has changed. So change there as well. Click. So when I do Kevin, normally it should work. AJAX trigger. Yeah, of course. AJAX target is the result. Okay, see if it works now. Key up, yeah. So it waited for that 500 milliseconds and then it changed. So if I'm going to change this, I'm going to copy this and paste it again. Yeah, now it's not the same anymore. But if I do this again, copy, and then copy over this, it will not go to the API because we said the value needs to be changed. So this is how, together with, we have the button, the div, and the input field, how we already extended the HTML with HTMX to give me data, and I didn't write one line of JavaScript in this case. Now, of course, you can take this further. For example, let's say that we have an API that takes a while longer to give me the data. So in this case, you want to notify the users that something is going on. I'm working here. So what I will do is, before the button, I will do a span. Class is, I already created a circle loader. That looks like this. Close that, and a non-breaking space. So you see the loader over there. Now what I'm going to specify, only show the loader when HTMX is doing something. Well, the only thing that I need to add here is the HTMX indicator. And that one will remove the loader. From the moment that I click on the button, it will show the loader. When he's ready, it will remove it. Now, from time to time, you can also say that, yeah, this works because this span is inside the element that fired the event. Now, for example, let's say if we have it here, we do h2, the results, put another div in there with an ID as content. Content, okay. Div, say the results, and I want to have that span over here. Class is the circle loader HTMX indicator. Okay. It's not showing because of the HTMX indicator, but the button does not know that. For this one, it's simple. It's inside the button. But for the other one, it's not inside the button, so we also need to add one. Okay. No, not tab. AJAX indicator is, and I'm going to use the class circle loader. Again, you can use the CSS selector here. So now when I click on it, you see also the loader will work there as well. So this is the combination of doing some CSS, because at the end, what happens here, if I right click, do inspect, we have the button. You see that the circle loader is the HTMX indicator, and the only thing that it does, it sets the default opacity to 0. When I click on it, brings it to 100, shows, afterwards it brings it to 0 again. Now with this first part, the demos that I have here, this is simple. But the only thing, the extra attribute that I want to explain right now is the AJAX swap. And for that one, I'm going to remove all of this. And we have AJAX multiple swaps. Okay, there you go. Run this one, click. Now, what is a swap? A swap is when I get the data, when I get, in this case, the JSON, but later we're going to get HTML there as well. What do you want me to do with it? Do you want me to replace the inner HTML, the outer HTML? Do you want to, if, for example, you have a list, you want to put it on top, put it on the end, and so on. So when I click on this one here, and then, no, that was the only one that I shouldn't have clicked. There are a lot of buttons, and I clicked on the one. Why did I click on it? Because what did the outer HTML do? It replaces the HTML. So from now on, my target result does not exist anymore. So, but I will quickly copy everything, refresh it, paste it, run it. Okay. So before end, what you see, and depending on the before end and the after ends, what it's going to do inside the elements, it's going to place it all depending on this result here. From the moment that I do the outer HTML, it's gone, vanished. So I cannot use that anymore. With this being said, I'm going to go to my application, which is this one here. And there is a page, profile.create. And what I want to do is so you have a normal form, first name, last name, display name, and so on. So while I'm completing this form, I want to check if the slug is still available, if the display name that I want to use is still available, yes or no. So for example, Kevin here, yeah, it doesn't matter which one type. After a while, it says, okay, you can use this one is available. Now, how does this one work? Well, basically, if I go to my pages, I have a profile page, and in the create page, I'm going to make it bigger. This is not the form, it's not this page. Where are you? Create profile form, that's here. So basically what I do there as well, and this is not giving me HTML, but JSON. So what I do is when I did not use key up, I use blur. So from the moment that I go outside of the elements, and if it is changed, I want you to check via my API user profiles check slug, if that one is still available, yes or no. And this is also an example that I'm combining HTML with JavaScript and HTMX. In a few moments, we're going to see how we can render the HTML at the server. And then I don't need this. But for this case, because this was an application that I was already creating before HTMX, and I gradually added all the attributes to it. So I didn't want to, I wanted to call this handle slug response event. And the only thing that it does, it shows the available or the not available below the box. Now what you see is that HTMX, like ASP.NET and other applications, it has a life cycle. And I can show you this life cycle here as well. I have this one in comments. Go away, restart that page. The time that we wait now is too short, making too long for making a joke and too short to make a good one. So we have to wait a few moments. Go back here, it's here. So if I, where are you? Yeah, here. So if I do the AJAX get API/HTMX, run that one, click it. So that one worked. If we take a look at the console, you see the life cycle of, well, maybe it's not that readable, but not that important, but you see everything that you do with HTMX. Hey, I'm going to start a new request. I'm beginning the request. I'm getting there, I'm coming back. Do you want to do something? So you can basically, with JavaScript or HTMX, always hook into that event, before the swap, after the swap. So what I have here in that form, where are you? Here, is that AJAX on, that's the event that is created. After the request, I want you to handle it with JavaScript. And again, if you want to see that JavaScript, come afterwards, but I'm not going to lose too much time on that. The only thing that it does, it shows a span available or not available. Okay, but I want to take this a step further and go back to the beginning where I said that I want to render HTML on the server. I do not want to work with JSON. So I already created a page, and you will see it's pretty empty, except for the script, which I'll show you in a minute. And again, give me server info. So I will start by creating that same button. Button is primary. The only reason why I do this primary to have a color, and click me. Now what do I need to do? Well, I need to create some code on the server. And it's the onGetServerTime. Now what does the onGetServerTime do? Let me first show you this. Click. Get rid of that. Well, it's first going to check if the request is initiated by HTMX. So if I, for example, I already have some code here. Click elements or network. Do that again. That's the button. HTMX. It is small, but here you see AJAX request is true. This is not something that you will have if you're asking for a full page reload. It says the AJAX is request is true. So I'm checking that. Is this coming? Is it a partial update or is it a full update that I need to do? So in this case, when it's an AJAX request, it's true, I'm just going to give him some HTML back. Again, I will go quickly to partials instead of the content. The only thing that's kind of set by default here, but this is ASP.NET behavior, you cannot do a lot of stuff with that, is you have to check that. I would love to make this simpler by asking, hey, request dot is HTMX. Now this is not default behavior. You have NuGet packages that you can download. These are a bunch of extension methods. Now I did not use the NuGet package, but I created it myself, and basically it's a list of extension methods. For example, is HTMX is doing the same what I've written before. So this is a whole list. Again, if you want to have this, I can mail it, but there are bigger files than this only for HTMX created by a person who has has more time than I have. So that's what I have here. If it's HTMX, so I'm going to go to my button and go here, AJAX get. Now it's going to be different. I'm not going to call an API. I'm going to call the handler of this page, of this Razor page. So handler, I want you to give me the server time. Now the agreement here is that we're not going to type on get, on post, on put, on delete. No, we're just going to give, say, the name of that one, like so, and then click here, AJAX target is in the results. It's a button, so the click will by default work. Just going to check if I type results, okay. Okay, click. Yeah, there you go. So now I'm not talking to controllers, to APIs, I'm talking to the ASP.NET pages. Now, of course, this is fairly simple if it's just for time. What you actually want to have is you want to create partial pages, partial Razor pages, where you can have a bunch of HTML in there. Again, this is only during the time, but later in the application that I created to organize my own funeral, you will see that these partial pages get a lot bigger. But that's the only thing that I need to change here is create a partial page, and it's that one. It has the HTML, datetime.now.toString, and a format. In the code here, I have to specify, okay, return a partial page, the time partial, and that's the only thing that I need to do now to get this one working. Okay, click. And that goes well as well. The next step is, okay, let's make this a little bit bigger and go here, and I'm going to give me another demo div and work with forms. NDC favorite music form. Okay. Well, this is a form with basically two fields. Give me a band, give me a song, and then we can add it. And you see that we're moving to the big application where we're working with bands and songs and so on. Now, the code for this one sits here. I'm going to put this sleep. That's for in a while. Again, what did I do? In the song partial, I just made something, and when we're going to send the request to the server, do some magic, save it in the database, at the end, give that item back again. So I created a partial. It's a Bulma card. I didn't want to write all the CSS myself, so I'm using Bulma. If you don't know Bulma, it's something like Twitter Bootstrap, all the other things, and Bulma is the one that I'm using for this application. And in my code, I'm going to specify, okay, you get the band, you get the song, return the song partial, and you're going to pass that model to that partial Razor page. Yeah, important. If I don't specify what I need to do, it's not going to work anymore. The difference with a few moments ago, now we're having a form, we're doing a post. So let me do that one. Here you have a handler. Last days, Visual Studio Code, the intelligence was great. He suggested everything. I came here, it doesn't suggest anything anymore, so I need to just make sure that I copy the right handler. Okay, that one. When you're done, I want you to put it in results, and I'm going to swap. I'm going to say do it before end, so that it always adds it and not replaces it. Now, when I'm going to write and execute it, I'm not going to do it because it's not going to work. I need some extra security measure here, and that's some ASP.NET stuff that I need to add just to make sure that I'm the correct person who is posting this to the server. I'm very lucky. Normally, by normal behavior, I always add these semicolons at the end, and a lot of people do this, and you see a lot of ASP.NET application with random semicolons on the page. So I'm not going to do that. Restart it. Okay, yeah, band's always bad. Okay, and because of the swap, it all, you cannot see where, but it does it before the end. It always added at the top. Now I'm going to also specify, hey, I want you to make sure that validate is true. Because I have a required field, two required fields, I want you to check that as well if that is required. And I want to, I think it's confirm true, restart. Okay, Kevin. Favorite music, and then I have the confirmation. Nobody loves a confirmation like this, but it works, so it's good. And if I would repeat this, is going to do the validation as well. Basically, I'm not the biggest fan of this kind of validation. This is the place where I'm writing some JavaScript because the bad thing with this validation, it does it field per field. Now we're going to do this field, you forget another field, he's there again. So this is not something that I tend to use. The only thing that I'm going to change here is I already have a script. Remember that HTMX has a lifecycle, the before request, after request, before swap, after swap. One of the events where you can hook into is also the HTMX confirm. If you don't like that normal behavior of the browser, you can do whatever you like there as well. The only thing that I need to do is copy this attribute field. Go to my form. Let me do that. Do this so it's more clear. Confirm. And I'm going to add this attribute there as well. So basically what it does, it says, okay, when a form, it doesn't matter, on the page, you can have multiple forms, you can have buttons where you click on it that you also need to confirm. If that happens, then I'm going to ask, okay, which element triggered it? And then I'm going to see if there is, for me, in this case, this attribute on the elements. Never pick these long attributes. I just want to make sure that the name is not important. If you want to call it broccoli or crocodile, it will work as well. Your colleague will look a little bit weird, but sometimes that's just fun as well. And then I'm using a sweet alert, which is another JavaScript library. I didn't want to create my own alerts. Basically what you do is you have a div, you set the background to an opacity that it looks like you're on top of the page. But sweet alert does the magic for me. You just have to wait. Okay. Nope. That's not sweet. Yeah. Should I do this? Okay, there it's again. I should have set it to true. So then it will remove the default behavior of the browser and you can do whatever you want with that. Again, this is Sweet Alert. It gives you this. Bulma has the same. Twitter Bootstrap also have these alert boxes. You can do whatever you want. Now, I wanted to add something else, which is not HTMX, but I really love it. And you know, when you watch movies and people are inserting extra marketing in there as well. It's not my product, but I don't know if you know Hyperscript. And Hyperscript is another person who had a lot of time, who created a framework which allows you to add CSS classes in a very readable way. And you can go really crazy on this. But for now, what I'm going to say here, it starts with an underscore. He's really lazy. Not a lot of things there, but it's a smart guy. So on submit. So when I'm submitting the form, what I want you to do, I want you to add the isLoading clause to the button, which is of type submit. Type is single quotes right now. Submit. I'm going to close that. And you need to specify, where is that button? Well, it's in the form, well, in me, end. When, of course, the loading is going to show up. By the way, you could use the HTMX indicator, but again, it's extra cool features that I wanted to add to the button. And on HTMX lifecycle, after request, so when the request is done, I want you to remove the isLoading from the button. Type is, no, single quotes, submit. And where is that button? It's in me. You can use IDs as well. if you give the button ID. I don't know if the button has that ID. Hashtag CSS selector, you can use the ID, and you're done. And this is always the part of the demo that I'm not sure if it's going to work directly, but let's just give it a shot. Button. But the idea of the Hyperscript is basically the same idea as what HTMX is doing. It's extending the HTML. You stay in your contract of the HTML, so close my eyes. Yeah, it's working. The confirmation is there, but then something is wrong. Doesn't matter. It worked before. The demo that I'm showing you right now works. I need to see why. Is there a breakpoint? Nope. Doesn't matter. Now, to show you that you can get really crazy with that Hyperscript, I created the same form with some extra things to it. So favorite band is Kevin. So the Hyperscript makes sure that I have a sort of like data binding, which you know in XAML as well. What I type here will be shown there. What I type there will be shown here as well. When I click on the button, it will show the loader, give another color. When he's done, he's going to show a toast message as well. Has nothing to do with my code right now. It could be, but now you will see it's a lot of work. It's the same form, but you will see is when I load, do some JavaScript stuff, I don't want to show the toast. I don't want to show progress. I don't want to do anything. When somebody types something in the text box, show it the data binding stuff is there. Same for the song. Before I'm going to start the request, to get the value, show the loader, hide the toast when it's done. So this is all of Hyperscript. It's an evening of work, debugging, testing, but at the end, you're so happy. And your wife is already to bed, and you can watch every Netflix series you ever want to see. Nobody's going to complain because you did Hyperscript. Okay, now I'm going to close. I don't need that anymore, this page. No, okay. Let's go back to the application, which is already ready. Already ready, yeah. Click here. So I already showed you this one, this part here for the the slug to check if it's available, yes or no. Let me get this application start again. I was too lazy to create this page. Yeah, I was too busy with Hyperscript, basically. So what we already have here is my daughter's Sweet 16 party. Of course, the idea is that we're going to add also a memory. And as I said, we're going to go for my funeral. The only thing that I didn't think about is I made the date field required. That's something I need to fix. So my funeral, this is not required. I have an image. ChatGPT created that for me. And let's say that we're going for next week. And even at, I think, 6:38. Okay, create that one. Oh, did I? Huh? Let me do it again. Oh, my funeral. Yeah, it's too smart. It's too early. 5. Sometimes I create. Valid form. Why Delilah? Application. I don't here web pages. Memory events. Create. Let's see. This should be the post async. See if it gets in there. Restart. Allez. at some point in time, you don't even bother anymore. You just type stuff. Okay, let me go. That's what I do. Sometimes you go away, you come back, and everything works again, which is great. Now, what I wanted to show you is the page didn't refresh. It was the list. What it added was on the page, just render the HTML, save it, and come back. So the idea is, first of all, that I have that form. And in that form, I'm going to do the same things as what I did before. So I'm going to do an AJAX post to a memory events create. The target is memory events container. As you can see, this is a partial. It doesn't have code behind, and basically the end, this is getting loaded inside the index.cs HTML, and when we're going to find that one here, if I'm going to search, another one, up. That is the div. So basically the end, this is the place for the memories. When I scroll a little bit down, you will see here my for each loop, and it always gets the HTML from memory event partial, get it to this list, and it renders it. If you take a look at memory event partial, it looks like this. The only thing that it does, it gives me a title, it has a slug, delete is for in a minute. So basically that's just one line of that memory. Okay, where are you? So this is basically partial, 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 partial. Okay. Now what I did extra is, and that's again a little bit of extra work, but I like it. This is a new event. It has the icon new. If I would refresh the page, it's not new anymore. It was already there before. It was there before I loaded the page. And this is something that I can find here as well. So I'm saying, okay, if this partial is loaded based on an HTMX request that just happened, I'm going to add a CSS class to it, just add it, and this CSS class refers to that, that block with new in it. And that's basically it. The hardest part is in the create form, the create partial. That's the hardest part. The reason for this is because I also wanted to upload my beautiful funeral picture in this case, then I added that. Okay, let's go a step further here. Let me first do the delete. With the delete, I have the AJAX confirm. That is working not with the sweet alert, the classic browser thing. And when I click on OK, it's deleted. No page refresh. Everything is done with HTMX. Where is that? Well, here I have in my memory event partial, using a form here, and we've used AJAX get, we've used AJAX post. In this case, I'm using AJAX delete. And what I'm going to do is, click here. I need to specify which one. So I'm just going to say, give me the closest one where you trigger that on it, and it should be of class memory event. In this case, what is going to happen? Go to the swap of the elements, the closest one, and basically the outer HTML. Remember in the first demo that I shouldn't click on the outer HTML because it removes everything. This is the same thing here. From that list, I want you to remove everything that has something to do with the memory event that I just deleted. Okay. Now, let's go further here. Okay. So this is the place, my daughter, her Sweet 16. I already added 2 songs there, some text and so on. So what I'm going to do here, basically the same. Click, model. Let's go for a song. Next, what does she like? Yeah, everything, for example, Fever Balthazar. It will go to the API of Spotify, gets the songs, I can click it. I'm not going to add that one. And again, no page refresh. HTMX, basically what it does not seem to, oh, it's there, it took a while. It loaded it from Spotify, get the information, showed it here. Yeah. So in this case, we need to go to playlists, and I have the details of a playlist. Sometimes I cannot find playlists. It's alphabetically, cannot be that hard. Here, details. Okay. I'm doing pretty much the same here. Are there elements, yes or no? And yeah, on the left side, we're going to come back on that later. You had how many songs, how many speeches, how many videos you want to play. That is going to be for in a minute. And here in the playlist, you have the playlist items container, what it does. It's another way of writing it. You can use the handler that we did before. Give me the items from the playlist. When do you do this? Yeah, when the page loads. Not when I click on something. When the page loads, I directly want to have these items. Where do you want me to put this? Well, in this case, AJAX target is this. If you remove it, it will also work because you're referring to the same page. And where do you want it? Well, at the end. So again, always at HTMX. This has some other buttons. Need to check 9 minutes. Okay. Now, the hardest part in this page was you have that details list here. But somewhere else on the page, I have an element, in this case, it's also a partial, that I want to update. So on my page, I need to update 2 things on different places. This can also be on a product page. When you buy an item, you want to update your shopping cart. And your shopping cart, that icon is somewhere else than on the place where you're working in. And this is what in HTMX they call out-of-band swaps. You're going to swap something somewhere else. And what you need to do is, again, I created a partial for this. Okay, so first of all, what I'm going to do is I need to specify that new item in there. But then I'm also going to add some HTML in this page. And I'm going to say, oh, this is not something for this element, but you need to update somewhere else event numbers with the new data that you have. So if I click on event numbers, copy it, go to the details, find it, you will see it's over there. It's somewhere else on my page. So the out-of-band swaps, well, you can have multiple out-of-band swaps there as well. And I want to update this, want to update that. So, and when I'm now going to add one here, over song, the strokes. That's one for my funeral. You only live once. Next, you see it's updated it to 4. It was 3, now it's 4. So he added that one item in here, but he also updated the out-of-band swap div somewhere else. Do I have time for one more thing? Yeah. I'm just going to do something here, add a lot of stuff to my daughter's party. Bum. Okay, refresh. What I wanted to show you here is that I didn't want to have paging here. I go to the next page, go to the next page. I want to have that scroll effect. So when you're at the last item, give me the next 5. When I'm the last item, give me the next 5. And this, normally that should work directly. So probably you can see it by the scroll bar. And you see it gets smaller. It loads the next 5. We'll do it again. So here, yeah, it jumps to the top, so it always loads the next 10 or 5. I'm not sure how many that it does. What you need to do here is a simple trick. What you do is you need to add an item, the last item, and perform a trigger on that last item. Not on the second item, not on the first item, which means that from the moment that this item gets visible, it will trigger, again, a razor page. Give me the next 5. Give me the next 5. Where is that one? I think it's, no, it's not here. I always, no, it's a row. And this is, that's the thing that I'm adding there. You could do it differently as well. You can also set the trigger on the last item. But I'm adding a text if it's enabled. It's a setting that you can do. And basically what it does, from the moment that it gets triggered, but only once. Because otherwise, if you stay there and you scroll down, you scroll up again, it will trigger it again. So only once, then you go and reload the playlist item containers and add the items at the end. Now, maybe you're sitting here and saying, oh, it's not difficult. To get started, it could be difficult. But if, here, nope. The documentation of HTMX is pretty good. You have a lot of examples that you can use there as well. There are talks, videos of it, how you can use it. You see, you can use drag and drop. You have the dialogues. I used that suite alert, but you can have the dialogues there as well. You have file uploads, animations. Animations is something that I not tend to do. If I do animation, I do it in CSS. For me, it's HTML is content, JavaScript is interaction, and animations is more for me, it has to do with the makeup, with the styling. So I tend to do that in CSS. But you see, there's a lot of features that you can use. And there's even a HTMX, ASP.NET course somewhere. Not that one. I think it's this one here. Which also explains a lot on step-by-step tutorials how you can use HTMX as well. It's Woodruff, yeah. I could read it for you, but it's woodruff.com. Create made easy building dynamic apps with HTMX and ASP.NET Razor Pages. Just Google for HTMX ASP.NET course and you will find it later there as well. Okay, PowerPoint. Now in my PowerPoint, I explain all of this. I've hidden the slides, but all the AJAX, the get, the triggers, and so on. So you will definitely get this PowerPoint afterwards. But I'm now I'm going to do this. Again, the documentation is here, and I think I have the URL not here. But if you look at ASP.NET Core Reimagined, you can find the book there as well. If you search that on Google, that will work. So basically, that was my talk. And yeah, I hope that you got somewhat inspired to take a look at HTMX. If you still want to use Angular, React, your call, your choice. But for me, it makes it easier to create the applications and get back to the focus on why I did or why I do love creating CRUD applications. Am I a full stack web developer? Yes. I did not write a lot of JavaScript, but I added interactivity into the browser, and adding interactivity into the browser with JavaScript, it doesn't say who has to write the JavaScript. I used it. Then I'm still a full stack web developer. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great conference again.